So what else did it correlate with? Well, when we look at historically, going back all the way to the Roman Empire, we know catastrophic breakdowns. So major events that have seismic consequences. For example, the Roman amphitheater collapse in Fenene, Italy, which occurred during the time of the Roman Empire, had a Saturn-Uranus square alignment, and 20,000 people died in an amphitheater collapse. Now, that's a huge number, even by today, but just keep in mind, at the time of the Roman Empire, at its very height, when this collapse occurred, it was only 24 million people living in the planet. 24 million, 20,000 people out of 24 million were killed within minutes. And this correlated again, if we look at it was around 12 noon when that Saturn was rising, right, squaring that ascendant. Another major disaster was the Haiti earthquake. Again, we're looking at that Saturn-Uranus opposition and the number of deaths that followed. This correlated again with another crash back in 1873, the stock market panic, 1873 stock market panic, which halted. It was a 10-day halt of the market. The markets froze, not for 10 minutes, not for 10 hours, but for 10 days in order to prevent a massive meltdown in the system. And that initiated the first depression. The first depression of the United States was not the Great Depression of 1929 to 1941. It was the Depression of 1873 that began exactly during this time of the Saturn-Uranus opposition alignment. We see also emergence of great earthquakes. The Great Tangshan earthquake in northwestern China that occurred a few years back. We look here again, we see the Saturn-Uranus square alignment, very close. We look at the Pan Am Flight 1736, the Tenerife airport disaster, probably the largest, biggest airport disaster of all time. It occurred exactly at the time Uranus was rising on the ascendant, square Saturn. We see the Benazir colliery coal dust explosion in China. And this was in the 40s during the Saturn-Uranus conjunction. This is one of the greatest explosions, number of deaths in history occurred at this time. We see the Chernobyl nuclear meltdown. Now, the Chernobyl nuclear meltdown occurred with a wide Saturn-Uranus conjunction, but you have to keep in mind that this is the exact time the meltdown occurred. Uranus was rising, Saturn was in the same sign of Uranus and approaching. It was going retrograde and then turning stationary and then would conjunct Uranus. So during that period between the meltdown and the complete evacuation, resulting in thousands of deaths and the near catastrophic, near complete radiation of the entire Soviet Union. So in other words, we were that close to having half the world completely in an irradiated state for the next 10,000 years. For those of you who think I'm exaggerating, go watch the HBO series of Chernobyl. Watch the show. When they explained it to Gorbachev what was going on, and this was going on, this is during the time, not the day of the meltdown, but as Saturn got closer to Uranus, the implications was greater than if the United States did a complete nuclear strike on the Soviet Union, meaning more people would die of Chernobyl than if the United States unleashed 30,000 of its nuclear weapons that were ready for launch at that time in 1986. So there'd be more loss of life, permanent loss of life. So this is how severe, catastrophic, man-made breakdowns and disasters, these occur during these Saturn-Uranus alignments. We see it with more stock market panics. Black Monday panic of 1987. Look at that, Saturn-Uranus. We look at the New York Stock Exchange trading halt on December 1st, Saturn-Uranus. That's in 2008. So everyone remembers September 15th. The September 15th, the market took a dive. Barack Obama's numbers went up. Everyone remembers the election, but everyone forgets about when the New York Stock Exchange trading halted on December 1st, 2008, because the stock market globally was tanking. It wasn't just in New York. It was everything was melting down. Everything was melting down. They could not inject enough money into the system. We had a massive liquidity crisis that broke the repo markets, that broke the banking system, that broke the stock markets, right? For all of you who have not watched The Big Short, if you want to get an understanding of what I'm talking about, because it's coming this year, it's coming, watch The Big Short. The Big Short is all about Saturn-Uranus, all about Saturn-Uranus. The stock market flash crash of May 6, 2010. You don't remember that because Barack Obama was talking about green shoots and the economy was fixed. If you listen to his State of the Union address in January 2010, you would think the economy is in a state of renaissance. And what happened? Most of the media, well, all of the major media bought into it. Your stockbroker bought into it. You bought into it. But with the economy was so good, why was the stock market being halted? Why did they have a flash crash? Because that's when gold was shooting up. If you remember, gold was taking off at the same time the stock market was making a recovery, but we had this flash crash. It was a warning shot that something was terribly wrong. So what happened? They went from QE1, QE2, Operation Twist, all within that period from 2010, starting with that flash crash, into 2011, to prevent the stock market from collapsing again, because there was no recovery. The Obama recovery was fake, absolutely fake, and people bought into it, just like people today are going to buy into the Biden recovery. So remember, cognitive dissonance is one of the strongest dimensions and elements that correlates with Saturn-Uranus alignments. So Saturn-Uranus alignments correlate with looming crises that have been a long time in the making, that escalate to an explosive breaking point, resulting in ruptures, disputes, breakdowns.
If you'd like to watch the full presentation and more like this on geopolitics, the economy, and world events from an archetypal and mundane astrological perspective, join the Global Transformation Astrology membership. Go to gta.williamstickevers.com or click the link in the description for twice-monthly webinars with Q&A, access to the growing library of previous webinars, and a collection of information and resources on today's most important topics, plus a monthly Ask Me Anything session for Gold members. We are now in the middle of a massive collective psycho-spiritual death rebirth process. Stay informed and be a part of the breakthrough, not the breakdown. Become a GTA member today.